Greetings and welcome to the Irongeek Podcast number 207. Google is the deep state. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well.
Could be better, could be worse.
Well, I mean, look, things can always be worse. They can always get better.
I think it's been more than a year now since I've been to a conference.
Like, even when things are really bad, like really, really sucky, they're always going to eventually get better. It's just a matter of time and shit. So, what have y'all been up to the last week?
Trying to fix a bayonet to an AR-15. Oh, and getting a bunch of new toys, like different types of knives and machetes and shit.
Interesting. You know, why not just grab like a steak knife and some duct tape? You don't need a real bayonet. It'll be fine.
Actually, the cool bayonets are the ones on the Moigan Nagants. Yeah.
The boys in the guns?
Yeah. Boys in the guns. Yeah, those really long spiky things. Yeah.
Yeah. Bayonets, man. Guns. Guns don't kill people. H with guns kill people. So, I was at CPAC. That was cool. I met some cool people. What were you guys doing besides trying to attach sharp things to bang bang sticks?
Well, let's see. The usual, just work and trying to sort out all the rocks I got and trying to do hard drive recovery and then dealing with because I live in an apartment, they had pipes busted, and so they were turning off water and fixing stuff and interrupted, my days. And hopefully that's over with today. And GPU mining and trying to work out heat issues and stuff like that.
That's cool. I wonder, anything going on with you, Adrian, besides the whole the gun thing you were just talking about? Anything new?
I can't say specifically. Same OCD shit I have normally.
The AR-15 bayonet extender adapter.
Wait, who's playing?
GPG Defense. You can buy this.
Oh shit, I'm playing. Damn autoplay video.
Yeah, my YouTube is muted.
It wasn't exactly my YouTube. It was I have a product page up for a bayonet extender.
Oh, okay.
No, not because I need one, because I want one.
Yeah, I'm kind of mixed opinion on bayonets. I mean, they can be useful, but there's a lot of you need most bayonets are built for a specific barrel length and muzzle device and gas block. So without that, it's kind of hard to get it to work properly.
And they do seem awfully rattly, and I think I've been a pretty bad straight if that's the weapon I have to go with, a sidearm.
Yeah.
Well, sidearm isn't quite the right term. You know what I mean. I'm not charging any trenches.
As a weapon of last resort, yeah.
Cool. Weapons, man. You know what the best weapons are? Knowledge.
Marina? What? No.
Knowledge, man. Knowledge is the best weapon. All right.
Hey, speaking of knowledge and weapons, if you put a guy up against the wall and blow his brains out, is that considered knowledge transfer to the wall?
Yes, it is. Very good.
I think you would rearrange the patterns enough to where it would no longer exactly be knowledge. Not to bust your bubble there.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was worth it just to see you roll your eyes like that. That was great.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, you can see me roll my eyes because I actually turned on my goddamn camera for the podcast, unlike the rest of you bastards.
Unfortunately, my camera's currently fucked.
So buy another fucking camera on Amazon and have it there in a day or two. It's like, what, $20?
I don't have a camera.
Why don't you have a camera?
Because I'm on a desktop, that's why.
So you get a camera, you plug it in. It's
Why?
on a desktop too.
Why?
So people can see your pretty face, Darren.
Some people who associate with me would rather not
honor of seeing your face. Barry, that doesn't go for you though. All right. So we got some fun shit in the cast notes this week. It's not like a whole bunch of crap, but we have some things. You know, I didn't spend like freaking 4 hours doing show notes like I sometimes do. You know. Oh, speaking of, I met a pretty cool guy who at first I thought was kind of a douche, but turned out to be a really awesome guy. So if you guys remember, like a couple of years ago, there was that guy who worked for Google, and he dumped a whole bunch of documents relating to how Google pretty much alters their search results to suppress things that are political or I think that the TLDR of it is that they modify search results in such a way that they're trying to push their own agendas, which is kind of sucky thing to do for a company that used to be using that motto of "Don't be evil." It looks like they got pretty freaking evil. So essentially, he found like portfolio shit, grabbed it from the company file server, and then like exfiltrated the data, and then he became the Google whistleblower. And Zach is a really good freaking dude. At first, I wasn't sure like what to think of him because. You know, I had Googled the guy, and I guess if you're going to Google somebody who pissed off Google, you're probably not going to get the best results at first. But I thought like the guy was going to be like a crazy QAnon guy with like anti-vax stuff, and you know, it turns out he's actually a pretty reasonable person. He has some far out there ideas, but I think he's kind of on the level. Good guy. He actually gave me some really good advice about something that other people wouldn't have the decency to do. So I think he's a good guy. So just wanted to name drop there, you know. Zach's an awesome good guy.
All right.
So next, we're going to start off the cast with the show notes here. We're going to talk about how Qualys was breached. It's always really funny when a cybersecurity company, they themselves get breached because it's like really, really silly. I don't know. There's probably better words for this, but I find it humorous myself. If a company that spends most of their money making products to help other companies not get breached, they themselves get breached.
Ironic?
Irony is the word.
I can't use ironic anymore because Alanis Morissette ruined it by making a whole song about things that are supposed to be ironic and none of them are.
Well, yeah, but
Isn't it ironic? Don't you think? So Qualys is the latest victim of what is being called the Acelion FTA server exploit. So this is it's essentially a file server that you can kind of rent, put in the cloud, and then you can have your employees who are like working from home access all the stuff like they would as if they were using a SharePoint server. All your company documents go in the cloud, you secure it, you hope for the best. Well, these devices, which are, you know, they're standalone, they're outside of the security perimeter of the network. There's a bunch of ransomware groups that have been hacking them, including Clop, which I think is a freaking hilarious name for a ransomware group, honestly, because if you know what Clop is, you know, you'd find that funny. And lots of companies are getting hacked by this, but the fact that Qualys got hacked by it is pretty bad. You know, it's not like their internal network was breached, right? This was just a freaking file server they put in the cloud. But there's still a lot of shit they probably had on there that they wouldn't want anybody to have access to. So it's not fun. They also were they weren't just exfiltrating data. Once they had access to these file server devices, they would also then, you know, do what ransomware groups do and encrypt the shit and try and ransom it back. So that's
claim that he thinks it's
Shit.
bad.
What the hell?
Why are he justified?
It's playing. I'm trying to stop it. I was trying to find the video so I could add it to the playlist, and all of a sudden shit started playing.
what happens when you go to sites with autoplay. You need to learn how to use NoScript.
Well, in this case, I'm doing it from my phone, and it was to my TV.
Okay, that'll work too. Next, you guys know about on Linux how you've got a bootloader before Linux loads up called Grub. Well, Grub 2, the most recent version of Grub, has a bunch of freaking vulnerabilities in there that are all high severity that can be used by an attacker to gain access to your system without a password. Now, if your system's also encrypted on top of this, it's going to be a lot harder to do that. But if you're just doing like a default Linux install, Grub can now be used. So I think I'm not quite sure how you would exploit this because the article doesn't really go into detail. But from my understanding is like you would probably need physical access. But if you wanted to get into somebody's Linux box who was running Grub 2 and you knew how to use this exploit, maybe like put it on a thumb drive and have it boot, and you could like bypass their password. But if you can do that already, there are other ways to just bypass the password. Namely, you can just overwrite the damn freaking file for the password.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it'd be for is if you have physical access, because that's pretty much the only time the bootloader comes into play is when the system is booting up, and you need physical access or like IPMI access or some kind of management card to access it. If you don't have that, it doesn't do you any good. Exactly. And most corporations I've been at don't use bootloader passwords because they want a box reboot and come back up without having to have someone sit there and enter a password to bring it up. So yeah.
So the other thing with this is you can actually use it to put a rootkit, but not a real. Yeah. It would be a bootkit instead of a rootkit.
Yeah, you could load it in that. You could load it in the kernel that way. Yeah, using as a kernel module, and that would be extremely hard to remove.
Yeah, so that could be a bad thing.
Not only that, if they're using UEFI, they would probably inject something in there that would, further, corrupt the grub.
Indeed. We got more fun stuff. Microsoft Exchange, right? Pretty much every like small business is going to be using Microsoft Exchange that I know of. Like everyone I've ever worked for always used Exchange. It's very, very popular. And just if you don't know what the hell Exchange is, it's an email server that all the desktop clients in their little Outlook is going to just connect over to Exchange, and then the emails and stuff actually go out through Exchange. Well, there are some unpatched Exchange server vulnerability 0 days. And Velexity has done a really good write-up on all of that. I'm going to share it, and hopefully nobody's going to message me and have it pop up while I'm trying to share it. Let's go to screen 2. Boom. All right. So you guys can see it, right? All right. Velexity is a company that figured this out. These are pre-auth vulnerabilities, meaning you don't need to even be logged into the server. You just need to have access to the server. They're currently being leveraged by nation states. So nation states being the more advanced threat groups that are out there. And they're seeing it being used in the wild, man. It's not like it's not something that everybody has like the vuln for. It's not like you can just go to exploit.db and find it, right? But there are people using this exploit actively. And look, if your Exchange server is not even sitting on the edge, like if it's on the same LAN as the rest of your network and they pop your Exchange server, not only do they have all the emails of like everybody in your company and everything they've ever sent and the ability to also send email as you, but now they've got a really good pivot into the rest of your network that they can use to hack everything else. So if you are running an Exchange, you got to go and you got to pull down these latest patches as soon as they come out. And it's not good. I mean, if you are looking through your logs and you see people doing post requests to this folder right here, OWA auth current themes resources, that's not good because that wouldn't normally be happening. And that's kind of an indication you're getting pwned with this. So you gotta take it seriously. It's not like a joke because you leave your server unsecured on the internet long enough, it's going to get popped. It's just a matter of time. Next, we have Google patching another Chrome O-Day. These come out periodically where people figure out some vulnerability with Chrome and then Chrome gets around to fixing it. This one was not not well known, and they did find some exploits for it in the wild. But now that they've updated Chrome, they're not really going to be affecting a lot of people, because if you patch it, it ain't gonna work no more. So that's how the cookie crumbles. As you guys know, ransomware is a real pain in the ass, and it's getting worse. Prism HR is a company that provides HR services for other companies who don't want to have a real HR person. So obviously these people at Prism HR are going to have a lot of info about the people who work for your company if you use them. And now they have been affected with some ransomware and also likely some data exfiltration, meaning that a whole bunch of companies that use Prism HR are now going to get pwned, because it's like you start there and you work your way. So not a good day for those sysadmins at those companies, who are now going to have to probably be changing a lot of passwords and stuff. It's kind of just as bad as one of those like what do they call it? Oh man, I need to get some more sleep. I'm really shot. All right, it's kind of like those attacks you see at companies where like an MSSP gets hacked, and then they use the access from them to hack all the other companies underneath them who they can manage. Right, it's the same kind of thing with the data they're going to get from here. They're probably going to try and hack the rest of those companies, so that's no good. We talked a few weeks ago about dependency confusion attacks, and it is a really good new threat vector that a lot of people are taking advantage of. The long and short of it is package managers depend on packages because they're package managers. But if you put a package there that it... So, Darren, explain this for me better. I'm fucking tired.
Hold on a second. Let me tab back over. Okay, so npm is used by Perl, I believe, or it's either Perl or Python, and it basically it's a repository of various third-party modules, some of which are very popular for applications who use those languages. And basically, whenever you grab a package, you're going to these third parties and grabbing it from them. And they're supposed to have checks in place to sign them and validate them and things like that. But if someone, say, pops a developer and gets code in there, or the repository gets popped and someone sneaks code in that way, you're grabbing code that's infected with who the fuck knows what. This is actually not really new. I mean, I remember, what was it? SendMail back. I think it was either SendMail or QMail back in the day got malicious code in it, and basically, if you installed it and ran it as root, you would get pwned that way. This was back in like late 90s, early 2000s. This is not new. So one of the big policies you do is you only run code from trusted sources. If you're talking about, OS packages like RPOs for Red Hat, you only grab them. No package. It's JavaScript. Okay, I'm thinking of something else, and I'm sorry. So it's JavaScript. Thank you, Corn, for that. Yeah, if I was mentioning Red Hat and packages, you grab them from Red Hat. You grab them from EPEL, which is maintained by the Red Hat team. Shit like that. You don't grab it from some random third party without extensive vetting, because you have no idea what the fuck they've done with it.
Right, and these dependency attacks are really brilliant, because the way that they're tricking people into installing these things is they're looking at packages that are being used by companies, their internal packages that aren't available in the public repositories, right? They're looking for those names, and then they're registering those names in the public repositories, and it's a race condition where rather than installing it from the local company repository, it would then install it from the attacker's repository. Well, not their repo, but the file they uploaded to that repo. It's clever, because they're just like, they're taking advantage of the fact that there are dependencies that are not being filled, because there would normally be pulled by the server. It would normally be pulled by the
package manager.
Thank you. Oh,
yeah.
I need.
No, it's okay. No, that's fine. I'm amazed the package manager actually does that, defaults to external before internal, because that seems like the exact opposite of what you'd want to fucking do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But anyway, that's where we're at, and it apparently affects a lot of different package managers too. So it's not just one; it's like a lot of them.
Yeah, I mean, you could do the same thing with Ruby gems. You could do the same thing with pip for Python. That's what it was. That's pip. NPM for JavaScript. Red Hat's RPMs. Debian and its distributed, depackage files. All of them have this vulnerability. That's, again, why you only grab it for trusted sources. You verify your shit. Don't run untrusted Docker containers. Don't grab, your RPMs from RussianHacker.org. Don't be a fucking idiot. Basically, just don't be a fucking idiot. That's all it is.
I like how people grab their the APK files for their Android devices from any random web page that comes up in the Google search.
Yeah.
Don't you know how easy it is to just fucking put shit in there and put it back on those sites?
I mean, literally, because they're not even signed. I mean, like RPMs, for example, are signed. We actually have a GPG key that signs them. I think DPackage do the same thing. I don't know if NPMs do or not, but I think APKs, aren't they just literally a Java compressed
thing? Yeah, essentially, it's a renamed class file.
Yeah, well, I thought it was actually like a Java archive, like an actual compressed archive.
Is it? I might have to
yeah, because I know Chrome extensions are like that as well. So are Firefox extensions. At least the old Impact ones.
Little known thing though, if you are running Chrome, you can install the Arc Welder, and then you can run Android applications right in Chrome. It literally is just using the Java that's on your computer to run it, which is really fucking cool. You need like a whole freaking emulator or virtualized thing. It's neat. No feds and DoD members that know about APKs. What?
He said no. He knows feds and DoD members that didn't know that bit about APKs. So they would go and grab that shit without understanding that it can get popped.
Gotcha. It's a common vector because like there are so many third-party app stores that don't vet their APKs at all. And if you're not installing shit directly from Google Play, you're asking for a bad time. And even sometimes shit slips through Google Play Store too, but it's less likely. We've got some RCE vulnerability in ESX, which is the hypervisor product for essentially this is VMware's hypervisor, and a lot of people run it. I run it. I've got not only run it at home, I run it at the office, and it's really good. It's easy to use. It's like you access a web server and you can manage all your VMs and shit from there. But there is remote code execution in this sucker, and it doesn't need you to even be authenticated, and it's not good. And there's going to be a lot of freaking servers out there that are vulnerable to this. I have not done a Shodan search yet, but I'm sure I could find a whole bunch of them and pop them if I were such an asshole to do that. But they have patches out for some of the stuff. There's a heap overflow patch, right? They got patches for it. But look, if you've ever managed a VMware server, you're not going to be pushing updates to it very often. So it's probably just going to be sitting there. It's probably not even running version 7. It's probably like running version 6.7, if anything, or maybe even 6.5. And I doubt they even put out these patches for the old versions. It's probably only the latest version. You'll be able to find a lot of servers vulnerable to this. Now, the question is the systems administrator dumb enough to forward this to the internet? And the answer is probably going to be yes. Because people are lazy. They don't even want to use a VPN. They just want to access the damn thing in the web browser. And they're not even going to IP restrict it. They're just going to freaking forward it to the internet, and you're going to see it. And you're going to be like, oh, shit, look at that. And yeah, if you're a bad guy, it's a good day for you. You just a lot of servers you can pop, and they're going to be freaking powerful too because they're hypervisors. They're not like some shitty 1U, you know.
Well, they could be. The host could be 1U.
I'm just saying they're going to be more high end than not. Essentially,
Well, yeah. I mean, you can. I mean, I think they've made.
you can run it on a Raspberry Pi. You can, but
Yeah.
it's more high end servers that you're going to be seeing if you're looking for it.
No, and usually they're in 2-socket servers, or they're running it on or of course, if they're HPCs, they're going to be 4-socket servers.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, I don't know if anyone would expose any kind of management network on a VMware host. You might expose, have some VMs that are firewalled up that are running internet level applications. But you don't, you shouldn't have any kind of access directly from the internet. You need to put that behind a secure network. I mean, that's just a sane thing to do.
I know, but systems administrators are notoriously lazy, and they make really bad decisions that are horrible for the company's security all the time.
Let's not bag too hardly on the sysadmins. Don't forget that they get told what to do by other people sometimes. Like, well, I can't access it from home, so you have to fix it so I can, or else I'm going to cry and wet myself. And, they have no choice. They have a manager that comes along and says, just fix it, so they'll shut up.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you give them a VPN client and say, connect to the road desktop.
Yep. Yeah, I'm telling you, I go through this every 2 or 3 weeks. I get some person that comes along and, well, I don't want to do that. I don't want to load that on my computer. Just make it so I can get it from the internet and I'll be happy. And, I say no, and I put my foot down, but how many people don't and just, cash their check and go home?
Well, I just tell them information security, and I don't compromise, and I'm unreasonable. So,
Yep. And that's a great way to lose a job, too.
Well, I'd rather, get another job than, watch a total meltdown because,
Yep.
of PHBs.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things to consider in there. Just saying, oh, the sysadmin must be lazy, but don't forget layer 8 and layer 9.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can make it easy for them to remote access, but it's always a process. If they want to put junk in the cloud, then it's not my responsibility.
There you go.
I say, well, we can just put this in the cloud. You can just, buy this host service and you can deal with them yourselves. And that's,
I've seen VPN clients set up so badly that have made things so problematic. I had an instance about 4 months ago, where we had a VPN solution, worked beautifully. When they deployed it into the cloud, they screwed something up. And what happened was the after connect scripts never ran. So you connected the VPN, but none of your drive mappings would happen. And everybody's Outlook failed, everybody's tools failed, everybody's storage failed. And, of course, everybody who had no brain in their head said, oh, it's this VPN. What do we need it anyway? Can we just do this without a VPN?
Yeah, let's put the file server, the SMB server, right on the internet too. That'll work great.
Yep, there are a lot of people who still think that way.
People are stupid.
Usually, what you do, is you actually set up a remote firewall where the VPN connects automatically, and they just log in from there.
Yeah, no, that was working fine. What was happening was the post connect scripts weren't running. That was the bugaboo.
Yeah, it should be seamless.
That is two of the most famous words in IT. Should be.
Yep.
Yep.
Should be, ought to be.
I say that all the time because like it's supposed to work. I mean, everything logical says it'll work, but we know what that happens. It says, "Oh, it'll work," and then it doesn't. It happens
No
to
plan
everyone.
survives first contact with the enemy.
Yes, that's very.
And who
true,
is the
Max.
enemy? Every end user.
But I mean, your earlier comment about the cloud reminds me of people want to lift and shift, move shit to the cloud, and they just want it to work. So they're gonna use AWS as an example. They're gonna open the security policy open, so that way it can be any IP, any port. They're gonna do all kinds of stupid shit that is bad policy that it actually warns you not to fucking do. And if they want to do that, I say, okay, great. You go ahead, you do that. Here's my recommendation of why you shouldn't do that, and here's what can happen if you do that. And when it blows up in their face later on, as it's going to want to do, there you go.
Every company has got a Jar Jar in it. Misa puts it in cloud, and
I know,
they
I've
don't
got one
even
of mine.
they don't think about what that means. They think cloud means click your heels together 3 times and suddenly you're a size 5 dress. And it's like you got to think about your security. You got to think about your buckets. You got to do all your access shit. You've got to go in there and lock that shit down. It's not as easy as people make it out to be, or the salespeople make it out to be.
Oh, I know. I mean, I know we're mostly security focused here, but I deal with that shit in my job too. Where even outside security, they expect that it's the cloud, it could just work, and no, not all applications are built for it. If you're running SaaS, for example, or basically it's on a LAMP stack, it's not going to work well with the cloud because you can't do that.
When are we going to get past these stack things? Okay, when are we going to get past this shit?
What do you mean past it?
Okay, what is a stack? It's a half a dozen programs that were never designed to work together, duct taped together with, a little bit of hope and some prayer. And when it works until the first piece of it gets patched and the whole thing breaks. How is that even a viable solution? It's like you've got to keep people on deck that know the individual products and that can understand how the individual products in the stack talk to each other. Otherwise, you're fucky.
It's OpenStack.
Yeah.
You take the first thing in the stack, and the minute it gets an update that doesn't play ball with the rest of the stack, your whole thing's in the crapper.
Well, that's true of some things modern, but I'm referring more to a classical stack like the LAMP stack, because those are a little different in how they work. Those have historically worked really well even throughout updates, and that's what the cloud is meant for.
And how does that happen? Because you hire the right people that understand the stuff to keep it patched together.
Well, no, because
you get these DeVry graduates who think I'll just download the LAMP stack and it will work, and it works great for 6 months. And then the first time you go on vacation, turn sideways, or update something, you got a bag of guano.
Well, no, because a lot of the developers for those pieces of software, like, for example, Apache and MySQL, etc., are building it in mind because those are the most common technologies being used in the web. They've been that way for the last 20 fucking years.
So you just add a little salt and, it tastes better.
Yeah.
It's just that I think there's just way too much dependency on these stacks. There are too many ways for them to go wrong, and people think it's a cost-cutting thing because we'll take these 5 free programs, but the thing is you're going to put so many FTEs keeping it alive that it's a wash.
And that's the thing. If your application can run on that platform and it's built for that, great. The cloud can actually work really well for you if you're smart about it and save you money. But if you're any kind of moderate to large size corporation, most of your applications can't do that. They're monolithic applications. They won't survive the server being destroyed and recreated. You can't just dynamically reinstall it. It's got to require manual configuration and shit like that.
And will it scale?
Yeah, they won't scale at all because they're not built for that kind of shit.
So we'll just make 3 or 4 stacks and put them next to each other.
Yeah.
It's just we need something better. We really do. We need something better.
I didn't mean to go off on a whole tangent like that. It was just more of a comment about the cloud. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something to think about because at some point somebody's got to come up with something better.
Anyways,
maybe it's Kubernetes. Maybe that's the solution.
Shut up.
Oh yes. Pardon me while I go take a dump.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I mean a Kubernetes. Sorry, I have to go make a Kubernetes.
Okay, I'm gonna go to my team meeting on Monday, and I'm gonna say, sorry, I gotta go take a Kubernetes. Wait for someone to fucking catch on with that one.
Yep.
Maybe it's Docker being exposed directly to the internet with its API for everybody to see.
Or are you grabbing your, like I said earlier, grabbing your fucking Docker image off of RussianHackers.org because hey, it does what we want to do.
Oh, come on now. I'm a professional. I use badguy.ru.
But
That's where I get my stuff from.
So on that same vein, sorry, this is the last offshoot I'll do here because I know we want to move on. A couple months ago, we were having a meeting with Red Hat, and they were talking about OpenShift and Kubernetes and all that shit, and talking about the benefits of it and how secure it is. And I start googling like all the Docker vulnerabilities and Kubernetes vulnerabilities that we found, and how you can actually exploit, get out of the quote virtualization layer to the base OS. And I start leaking to my AVP, and he's like, "Okay, yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, we don't want to do that."
Nice.
Well, my favorite still to this day is the guy who sits there and says, "You don't need backups. It's okay."
Yep. No backups needed.
We automatically back up inside the cloud. You got nothing to worry about.
I'm sure Kubernetes is super, super secure. I mean, I know there are InfoSec professionals out there. Their whole job is just to make sure Kubernetes is secure.
And I bet you they're not cheap.
Old people.
They're not cheap.
Yeah.
Not cheap.
Anybody who knows that shit well enough to keep it secured is probably, they're just waiting for that money truck to back up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Look, understanding Docker is a hard enough concept for most just regular IT people. Then you throw Kubernetes on top of it, and then you tell them that it's not even using the real Docker engine anymore for things. It's like it's got its own little implementation of the Docker engine, and then you're like, nobody knows what the fuck's going on anymore. It's like, what?
No,
what is
my very first exposure to that shit, I could not keep up to what I'm like. What the hell is this? It was like walking into Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Wait, what is that?
Except the Oompa Loompas are singing in Spanish.
It's fucking crazy. It's like people are like trying to understand the concept, and you're trying to liken it to a VM for them, but then you explain to them the differences, and then nobody fucking knows what the fuck's happening anymore.
Yep.
Like a VM, but not at all like a VM.
Well, what does that mean? Oh, it's SaaS. Oh, okay.
Well, like, is it sassy like my ex-wife, or what?
Well, it's a SaaS and a pass, and a pass and a SaaS.
Oh, the pass and the SaaS.
And this is why Dr. Seuss has been passed. I mean,
poor Dr. Seuss. That guy.
That's a hell of a segue you just did. I gotta hand it to you for that one.
We planned it ahead of time. Don't worry. No. Poor Dr. Seuss is rolling over in his grave over the fact that they're canceling 6 of his books because they don't like the fact that, like, for instance, there's a gentleman in one of his books who is Asian who is eating noodles. That is somehow racist.
Oh, no, it's noodles with chopsticks.
Exactly.
I read the article about that. And this woman is talking to her kid, and do all Asian people use chopsticks? I don't know. Well, that's why it's a bad stereotype. I'm like, fool, they invented the chopsticks.
They did.
I mean, why don't you just teach your kid that instead of how to be sensitive to microaggressions that don't exist?
I'm curious what all things in actual books were. I looked up some stuff that might be offensive by today's standards. And back in the day, he drew a lot of art for people. Like there was this one, I think it was an insecticide company. He drew a lot of black people in a very stereotypical way. And during World War II, there was
people
a lot
still
of
do that.
Japanese.
Hey, guess what? As an official representative of fat people, they still do that. It has nothing to do with his era. You want to see something funny? Look at any multi-person cartoon show, and you will find one skinny guy, one fat guy, one ugly guy, one good-looking guy. It's like it's a formula that's been used for ages.
Correct.
And if you really want to get picky, take a good look at all the superhero ones where the fat guy superhero always has the superpower of controlling the weather.
Huh?
Wait, why would I control the weather? That makes no sense.
Yeah, because a big thundercloud. So they're on their uniform, they have a giant thundercloud and a lightning bolt and shit like that.
Okay, the only ones I can think of who do lightning and shit are all either buff or skinny, like Storm, pretty skinny, fat buff for a woman. Thor, Captain Marvel from
Fat Thor.
Shazam from DC to an extent. Static Shock. I mean,
here with Static Shock, they redid his whole origin story now.
Yeah, I heard they did some. Yeah,
those are comic books.
Got his powers during a gang fight, right? Now it's during a BLM protest, and the part about this that doesn't make sense to me, right? Is the original thing was all these gang members were the bad guys, right? Because they got the powers at the same time he did. He was actually going there with a gun. He was going to shoot one of these fuckers, but he decided at the last minute he was too much of a pussy to do it, and he threw the gun in the water. And then they all got the powers, and he became like the superhero, and they were all the bad guys. But now that it's a BLM riot, are they going to have the BLM protesters become the bad guys? They can't do that, right? And the cops are portraying as the bad guys because they used the tear gas that turned them into the supercharged, superpowered people. So it's some crazy shit. It's going to be interesting. It'll be fun. Let's rewrite everything and make it political.
So
you can't escape from politics anymore by reading your comics. Politics won't follow
and then 50 years from now, they'll get bagged on it for doing it wrong.
Exactly. That's just how it goes. What's politically correct today won't be politically correct 5 years from now.
If they start putting people getting tear gassed as getting superpowers, I mean, that's kind of like, telling kids you'll get superpowers from eating Tide Pods,
Oh, come on. How many kids ate spinach and thought they could kick ass?
I couldn't stand this stuff.
I hate spinach.
Yeah, you know what I did? I took a big hunk of spinach and ate it and threw up all over the place. Yeah. And I never got superpowers. I never got big muscles, and nobody played any music for me.
But did you get to have sex with olive oil?
Did I what now?
Nothing. Bad joke. Sorry.
No, I didn't hear what you said. Did I get access to
olive oil?
Oh, hell no. I got a song for you later.
Okay. You can sing me your song. Sing me your song now.
Oh, no, it's not mine. It's somebody else's. It's a song about Popeye having sex with olive oil and smoking weed.
Sounds like a good freaking song.
There you go.
Next, we have compromised website images, camouflaging oblique rat malware. So this is building upon what had happened a few months ago. A few months ago, some malware was using images on like any website they could find where they could freely upload shit to use as command and control for their botnet, right? So essentially it would pull down this image, and that image would actually have all the C2 instructions in it. It was just stegoed in there, right? And then some security researcher figured this out, and he figured out which servers they went after, and then he grabbed a bunch of fucking memes, and he renamed them to the same file format and deleted their original files and replaced them with memes and neutered their malware, right? Well, this is a takeoff on that, essentially, where now they're using other sites that they hack, and they're using the same methodology with hiding the C2 instructions in the JPEG files, but now they're putting a little bit more stego into it, so it'll be a little bit harder to see what the hell's going on.
How do you put more stego into it?
It's no longer an image file that would actually display in an image thing. It doesn't have the header or anything. It's literally not even an image. It's just named as an image. If that makes any sense. It's not even a freaking image anymore. Before they were using real images and they were just doing stego and putting stuff in the image stuff, right? So I was like, I'm not, in there. It's in there. It's like a freaking zip file in the image, Now it's
wow.
Now it's literally just it's more complicated. So Neo Cortex would like everybody to know publicly that they ate spinach an hour ago, and that shit goes through their mind every time. Yeah, it kind of goes through my mind too. Also, Dickie would like us to know that was kind of a rapey cartoon. Now that I think about it, and maybe a little.
Which cartoon is this?
Popeye.
Oh, Popeye was rapey. Oh, okay.
Where Brutus was, or Pluto, or I don't remember. Like it was one name for the cartoon.
Pluto was definitely a sexual offender.
Yeah, well, it's like Pluto. Isn't it Pluto in one and like in the comic books or comic strips, and then it's like in the cartoon it's Brutus or something?
Dude, AP, hey, Bill Gardner's reaching out to you, man. He's saying it's good to see you still around.
Oh, hey.
Bill's the man. I love Bill. Good work. Bill does good work.
The majority of the time, the biggest thing was Popeye and Bluto fighting, but the thing is, they rarely did anything outside of consent. It was always, I'm better for you, and she was always, oh no, who do I choose? I have to choose one of these. If anything, Olive Oil should jump the fence and just say, to hell with both of you, I'm going to be a lesbian.
Wasn't there a few times though where like Bluto or whatever his name is was carrying her off?
Oh yeah, sometimes he gets pissed off and then says, you're coming with me, and takes her off to wherever his secret hideout is. But usually, those were ones when they were playing historical characters. There was one when they were doing a version of Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, and Popeye and Bluto took on Middle Eastern roles in the Conductor to the Tale. They ran out of material after a while. I mean, first of all, you have to suspend belief with Popeye because you've got two sailors fighting over a woman.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have a suspension of belief right there.
What you did there. My neighbor would not be happy with you.
I'm not saying there's no sailors who haven't resorted to what they could find, or sailors who are just naturally intended that way. But come on, guys back in port, if they can find a hot woman or not so hot woman, my understanding sailors have a tendency to be somewhat randy.
Yeah. LeVar Hall says Bluto should run for governor of New York. He'd probably fare better with women than Cuomo.
Anybody, look right now. I'm sorry, but
weeks ago you could say no wrong about Cuomo, and now everybody's ripping on him.
I've been hearing wrong about him for a long time. I don't get the love the guy got.
Well, I never liked the dude, but if I ever complained about him, like even on my Facebook, all my lefty friends would just destroy me. Like they'd be like, "How dare you? He's such a wonderful person. He's the best thing ever that happened in New York." It's
yeah, right.
Him.
That's why we were all sitting there with those dancing rules and cabaret laws that we love so much.
Yeah, someone said he's probably happy about the Me Too thing because it distracts from the issue with the nursing homes.
I wonder if that would be a really odd political thing to do to yourself, wouldn't it? Like, I want to distract from this. I'm going to do something even worse.
Well, I mean, it's not like some Democrats haven't survived Me Too pretty well. I mean, it's gotten a few of them, but it didn't hit Biden. It didn't really hit Clinton hard enough to knock him out. Now I think how some have gotten hit, and it didn't hit. Who was the attorney general? No, it wasn't an attorney general. I want to say he was a senator at one time. Then he became attorney general for Minnesota. Crap, I know he had some charges against him. There's various ones have come up, and you can survive a Me Too one, especially if you're a Democrat.
Yep.
Well, you can't survive Me Too if you're an asshole. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. You've been screwing around and mistreating women. You're not going to survive Me Too.
That works on multiple levels there.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not limited to Democrats. It's not limited to Republicans. It's politics in general.
Yeah, that's
true. You treat women like shit, you're going to be part of Me Too. If you did it historically, you're going to be part of Me Too. Where's the surprise? Where's the surprise?
You're not going to let me talk, are you?
No, I'm sorry. I just stuttered a little bit there.
It's okay. Sometimes people who don't deserve to be canceled get canceled. Sometimes
Absolutely.
people who do deserve it also get canceled. But I'm just against the whole rush to judgment before you know all the facts thing that tends to happen.
The basis of all that stuff is mob rule, and mob rule never works out for anybody.
And the media plays right into it. They will report something with no freaking proof, and then before you know it, everybody believes it. And even if it wasn't true, it's too late. It's already the way the public thinks.
Amen.
That's not the thing. It's like the matter.
Dickie's talked about someone who was apparently a convicted crackhead rapist that got reelected. I'm not sure who he's referring to. I can think of a guy who was mayor of D.C. who got reelected.
Marion Barry.
He was just a crackhead. To my knowledge, he was not a rapist or anything.
Yeah, Marion Barry was playing a joke. He heard everything went better with Coke. The Vista Hotel.
Yeah. But
Yeah, they had video footage of the guy smoking crack, and he got reelected. Hello, politics.
right.
Marion Barry is what a Happy Sunshine Day says. Yes.
And my one of my friends, he's my friend now. He wasn't like a week ago. I didn't know him yet. But my friend David Silverman was, I can call him a friend. Maybe I can. I'm going to call him a friend, and if he doesn't like it, then he can tell me to go fuck myself. But dude's awesome, right? And
Let us know if he touches the small of your back.
Too late, man.
What was that?
Nah, I said too late, man. But he's a really good guy, and like I really love the time that I spent with him, hanging out with that dude. He's like really good person, and I know just from like my time that I spent with him that the things he's accused of are bullshit. It's like,
yeah, I listened to a few streams about that situation, like one with Sargon and one with somebody else. I think maybe did Atheism Unstoppable had him on, and like a year ago or so, he did like a tour of all sorts of different YouTube channels. And yeah, I remember listening to some of the incidents, especially the second one. I was like, okay, this is just fucking weird.
yeah.
So when will it all blow over?
It won't. That's the problem. It's just going to get worse until it's going to get so bad that we're going to be living in fucking 1984, man. It's going to be like,
Oh, no, come on. We've been living in 1984 for a while now.
it's going to be, the whole concept of wrong speak, I think it was called, or
Newspeak.
names. Thank you. It's been a while since I read the book, but it's like you have to think the way that people want you to think. Otherwise, you are fucking a crazy person. You're an outlander. Outlander. That's not even a thing.
We're walking around with Big Brother in our pockets.
We are,
and we're doing so voluntarily.
Yeah, a friend has mentioned something recently, like to me, that's very much like that. But that's why I named the freaking cast what I did today. Google is the deep state, because I thought that was cool. So, yeah, not my original thought, but I don't think the person who told me would appreciate me spreading it. Still, I think it's freaking true. Google is the goddamn deep state. I mean, they control what you think and by modifying what you see when you search for stuff. If you're going to search for a topic and then the results you get for it are not representative of what is actual reality, then you're being fucking mind controlled.
Well, what is reality? I mean,
reality is objectively what is real. What is not. It's a hard fucking word to define, because then you're going to get into philosophy bullshit. But you know
exactly.
What I mean by reality. You know what I mean, like your day-to-day existence, what you do, all that shit. That's your reality. That's your lived experience. And if your experience is being fucked with by a company that is modifying the search results of say I want to learn about Adrian Crenshaw, and I type in Google and I go Adrian Crenshaw, and the very first result is not Adrian Crenshaw's website or a Wikipedia about him or any of the normal reputable sources, but instead a hit piece by some like Vice or something, right? And then the second article would be like maybe something from some other similar kind of journalistic place. And like, so say I heard, Adrian Crenshaw is going to be at, this conference. And then I go, who the fuck's Adrian Crenshaw? And I look it up and all I see are hit pieces. Well, I figure, this guy must be a piece of shit. But in reality, Adrian's a fucking awesome dude. But if they talk with the search results and they change what you see, then you're not going to know the truth.
Well, and then there's more. You have worse problems than that. You got much worse problems, because but I'm saying if a person thinks that way, they're not going to have a good time in life. Period.
Example.
I mean, if you actually cannot engage critical thinking in your head and go, well, I saw this on Google, so it must be true, then you're half the problem. I can go out there and look at hit pieces on people left, right, and backwards, and I'm not going to believe them all instantaneously. I have critical thinking skills. I can say, hey, maybe this is, maybe it isn't. I know what a hit piece is.
Lamar Hall also makes a really good counterpoint. If you ask a child about their lived experience with the monster under their bed or the one in their closet, they're 100% going to give you a lived experience of fear. That's a good fucking point. I like the way you phrased that. That's like way smarter than the way I think about things. And Dickey says the cognitive neuroscience and so on give a strong case to doubt reality, given how flawed our brains are and the limited our perceptions are. Right.
You know, if you Google me, the first thing you're going to find is an air conditioning company in Italy.
Well, that's because you're so full of hot air, man.
No,
So,
I'm full of cool air. I'm cool.
Yeah, you're cool. That's my reply does not work. Which it's an air conditioning company. It should have been an HVAC company.
You are a bad man.
There's the concept of Google bombing, right? And that's been around forever. Like, remember when GW was president and you would type in terrible failure and the first result would be his bio, right?
People manipulated that, didn't they? They kind of forced that to happen.
Yeah. What they did was they would go onto web pages and they'd post links, and those links would lead back to that. So whenever you type miserable failure and it would look for the ahref equals, the website, that phrase terrible failure would correspond to it. And Google kept indexing that. So whenever somebody typed in terrible failure, the first thing that would come up would be GW Bush profile.
And it's funny that Google can be manipulated like that so easily.
The thing is, they manipulate the results themselves. If you look at the stuff that was leaked by the Google whistleblower, Zach Voorhees, those are internal Google documents, right, that explain how they're going to be modifying search results so that they can push certain political agendas and certain ideals that they have for people. Like, they are intentionally talking about fucking with your search results so that you will think a different way. And that's really fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, you heard about the Facebook experiment, right? Where they took a bunch of people's Facebook profiles and they fucked with them by intentionally feeding them a bunch of really depressing shit or a bunch of really good, happy-go-lucky bullshit, right? And the people who were getting all the depressed stuff in their feeds, they monitored them and saw, oh, look, they are actually getting more depressed in real life. And then the people who they were giving all the happy shit to were getting happier because it's your experience. It's how you see the world. And if you're seeing the world as a fucking hellhole because all your shit in your Facebook feed, especially during a pandemic, right? So you're talking to your friends and shit over Facebook or whatever. So if all that shit's like fucking depressing and horrible and you're going to think the world's depressing and horrible, and they intentionally fucked with it. Like, they intentionally made people depressed just to see if they could. These are kind of fucking people who control shit.
Yeah, this is nothing new.
Just to
you're talking vintage 1950s technology here.
Right. Well, we're talking Ultra.
I mean, if you go to the grocery store every day and you see the National Enquirer, you're going to be looking for Bigfoot in your rearview mirror. I mean, this is nothing new. I mean, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to figure this out and to see through it and to know better than to trust it.
Well,
so
actually,
what is the problem here? The problem is we have simplistic people who just are never challenged. They never really think about anything for themselves. They just sit there and drool and spit up whatever Google throws at them without even thinking. You never think Google might be wrong?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I mean, one of the things I love talking about when I talk about spam is that people accept and read spam that they would ordinarily, if they got it in their physical mailbox, they just throw it in the trash without even opening it. You get your Ed McMahon letter saying you may have just won $1 trillion and you throw it in the trash, but you get an email that says, I is an Arabian prince and I want to help you get me my money. And all of a sudden, you're out there writing $1,000 checks. What is wrong with people? Google is evil. We know this. Big surprise. The sky is blue, water is wet, women have secrets, to quote Bruce Willis. Okay? Why are we acting so surprised?
How de-integrate Google from society at this point, though?
With your brain.
Break up.
You look at it and you say, oh, it's just Google.
Right. That's easy enough for you, right? But what I'm talking about is people have Google devices in their home. Like, Google's listening to a whole bunch of people all the time. They're gathering data on
Yes.
everybody about everything that you do.
And I warned them about that 10 years ago, and they laughed. People laughed at me when I warned them about this shit 10 years ago.
If you have an Android phone like I do, like most people do, if you swipe to the right, you get that screen with all the news that's customized to you. And some of it's really fucking customized to you. It's like, I don't even remember ever searching for this on Google, but you're recommending me this article that is definitely 100% in my interest. It's like, it's a little scary. And,
yeah, but also, doesn't it make you think for a minute that maybe I got to be a little more careful?
and I think we've all had the experience with ads, right? Where we say something when we're talking to a friend.
Yeah.
We just have our phone near us, but we're not searching for this thing. And then 5 minutes later, you're going on your phone and you have an ad for that thing. And they claim your phone doesn't listen to you, right? But we all know you can easily say those two keywords, okay, Google.
The check's in the mail, and I promise I won't come in your mouth.
Right? And look what the fuck happens. Because it's always listening. It may not always be uploading shit to the cloud, but who knows what the fuck is actually being sent over the wire. It's scary. You know?
Well, if we actually monitored it and took the time to look at it, it's not like we don't know how to use TCP dump.
We do, but it's over HTTPS. We'd have to somehow get a fucking cert onto the device.
Oh, gee, we don't know how to man in the middle of our own networks?
I know how to fucking run man-in-the-middle proxy. I'm talking about the fact that it's not going to talk to the server if the cert validation fails. Mm-hmm. You dumb fuck. The same problem that we have monitoring any goddamn network as a SOC person is those HTTPS certs. Unless you're installing a cert as a root CA on every computer in that network, you're not cracking open SSL and you're not seeing a lot of what the fuck is happening.
But you can do it at home.
Of course you can do it at home. That's different.
So then you watch what it does and you take a look at it and who's phoning home to where.
You got to get a fucking shell on the device first if you want to see that stuff.
There was a new honeypot I saw that they're selling now. It's a little cube you plug into your network, and they charge you $10 a month just to see what activity is happening. And they have a data center where they monitor they constantly scan your home IP. I just saw an ad for it on Facebook earlier today.
So Texan wants to know, is this channel all about trying to convince people that you're smart? Definitely not, because I'm a dumb fuck. But Adrian's smart. Maybe you could convince us stuff like that. I don't know. It's Hexen. Look, trolls are fun. I like to troll shit too. But I mean, come on, man. What the fuck?
Yeah. At some point, you have to say that. You have to say, what the fuck?
I agree with that.
You have to just stop and, you realize, McDonald's is not good for you. The quarter pounder is no longer a quarter pounder. We've grown up. We stopped believing in Captain Kangaroo a long time ago. So why are we letting Google get away with it?
Dickie has made an excellent assertion. More or less a jack of all trades and a master of some. That fits pretty fucking well, Dickie. I know I like that guy for a reason.
I just think that, it's bad. Okay, but, we're aware of it. We know. We know what's going on. We know what time, We're not the people that are having a hard time in life right now because they never learned how to read an analog clock.
All right, so Andrew wants to know, why are troll commenters only being plastered? You haven't really touched on any of the technical opinions or inputs. All right, give me a technical opinion or input you want discussed, Andrew, and I'll plaster it right on the screen. Can InfoSec please leave Twitter? Yeah, it can. Where the fuck's it gonna go? I mean, Parler's not really a fucking option, and what other medium can you recommend where people can rapidly send out a whole bunch of fucking info like they do on Twitter? If you can come up with a good solution, I will 100% leave Twitter.
But the problem is here. There's all sorts of stuff like what all else is there? Apollo, Gab, Minds. Shoot, to a degree, people are using what's it called? Telegram like that.
And there's nothing wrong with rolling your own.
And I like Labor's comment there. Jackass of all shades and master of a little. Yeah.
What do you guys think of Mastodon and Matrix? I've heard of Matrix. I think I heard about Mastodon. It's probably that decentralized thing that I tried setting up a long time ago when it was in beta. What do you guys know about those two alternatives, guys? Anybody?
I'll tell you one thing about any alternative is going to run into the same problem eventually.
What is that problem?
What is the problem? Why does InfoSec have to leave Twitter? Why?
Because Andrew says so.
Well, the only problem is
does Andrew have a sensible reason why? I'm not saying there isn't one. I just want to know what is driving Andrew to say we have to get InfoSec out of Twitter.
Andrew, you want to jump on the cast? We can.
That wasn't Andrew. That was some other dude. I or whatever.
Oh, I get all my peoples mixed up. All right, so Mastodon is a good Twitter alternative.
But any large scale system emulating Twitter is going to have the same problem as Twitter at some point.
Oh, so his point is
Andrew did not say that. That was
right. That's I was commenting. He just said Twitter censors. So I mean that I guess that could be a lot because they don't want the InfoSec world to be censored. But yeah, and most platforms at some point are going to do some kind of censoring. It's face.
Okay. Exactly.
They're going to do something that someone's going to consider censorship. Because
what about
they legally have to?
Sorry.
No, I'm good.
I got an example. So CPAC this year, the place I just was in Florida, right? Their theme this year was essentially uncancelable, like talking about cancel culture and how uncanceled they are uncanceled, right? And then at that same fucking con, Nick Fuentes from the Groypers shows up, and they kicked him the fuck out because he's crazy. It's like, we don't want you at our con, but we literally are talking a whole con about how we're not censoring or, it's always happen. You're always going to need to fucking censor people.
I can tell you that Fuentes is really a horrible individual that you don't want to harass your convention goers. He actually goes after people, and he is really nasty to them. Okay. I mean, you see him, you just want to kick his ass and throw him out. All right.
No, one of his people came up to my friend who was running the group I was there with, and he literally was starting to get like physical with him, and they had to kick that guy out too. Fucking Groypers.
And Dickie makes a good point there about there's tons of things that can't be published outside the U.S. And yeah, second comment there too, as you just highlighted. I mean, I know, for example, German law is actually pretty strict on on how they treat quote hacking. So it's just, and that's the problem is wherever you host it is where the laws you have to follow. So if you host it in the U.S., you have to worry about government oversight, government overreach. But if you host it in say Europe, there's other rules and regulations to worry about.
C&Ds. If you get a C&D from a company, you gotta do that too.
Yeah, there isn't really any place in the world you can host that is not going to be both reliable and bulletproof, short of some really shady shit in like Russia. And you really don't want to associate with those. Well, that looks really bad.
We had Haven Co. back in the day.
All right, sorry, go ahead, Tris.
So the Pirate Bay, they hosted their shit in Moldova on Trebia network, and Trebia would literally just refuse to answer any request for information about them. Like, they were essentially a bulletproof provider for a very, very long time. And not only were they just hosted there, they were hosted in multiple data centers, and so it was not a single point of failure. So if the cops come and raid the fucking data center, guess what? They're just going to flip over to the next one. It was redundant. It was kind of like setting up a load balancer, but or a failover. It just, this one goes down, go over here. That one goes down, go over here. If you want to keep shit up and you're doing something bad, there are ways to do it, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you should be doing it.
And there you go. Andrew makes a perfect point there about how Mastodon was hosted in Japan, which has issues of loli and Shotokan shit and other peer-to-peer networks where you have the risks of shit like child porn and other
Correct. That's
undesirable content, and that does have to get censored off. And to some degree, that is censorship because it is suppression of freedom of speech, which it is technically freedom of speech to post it, but it's
I had some more online about me using a BitChute people. She said something along the lines of, "That's the YouTube equivalent of Patreon and Gab. He would like it." I'm like, "Oh, you fucking idiot! Low censorship platform. Sorry, you're going to get some bad shit."
exactly.
Hey, the thing is, it's not.
It's for like freaking kiddie porn or something. I mean, the
thing is, it's not always a freedom of speech issue. Okay, what it is repercussions of what you say. Okay, you are free to post kiddie porn, but you know damn well there are going to be repercussions. The feds will be on you like stink on shit.
Oh yeah.
So you're not taking away your freedoms. I mean, if you come onto my board and you post kiddie porn, one of two things are going to happen. Either I'm going to go to jail for doing it because the feds are going to catch me, or I'm going to roll you over and say, "Hey, this guy's got kiddie porn on my system," and watch you go to PIMTA.
Oh, hell, I mean, my second option is going to be I'm going to feed you feet first into a wood chipper. That's what I'm going to fucking do.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm trying to stay on the side of sanity here, okay? Yeah. I find cheese pizza on my shit. You're not going to have a chance to talk about freedom of speech because freedom of my foot in your ass is what you're going to have.
Frank makes a point there, a couple about decentralized networks, and yeah, decentralized network is great, but the internet isn't really built for decentralization like that. You really can't do that without something like fast flux DNS and shit like that, which still is not foolproof. I mean, you can easily get an old DNS cached entry that's pointing to a location no longer exists or is running an old copy or shit like that, especially for like a social media environment where you actually kind of have to have things in sync, where things being in sync is actually pretty fucking critical.
I think there's one important thing we're missing here, though. The original question or the original statement was about InfoSec, and we're giving all kinds of examples of non-InfoSec situations.
Right, and
what about InfoSec is being censored right now?
Information exchange is critical. Okay, even if it's the bad stuff. Okay, meaning how to do something really bad.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying well. Here's where I'm not going to go and say, oh, well, you can go over to this BitTorrent network and find the naughty porn because, that's probably, where the feds are looking for people to go look for it. You don't want that.
Yeah.
So,
I'd say don't do this. Okay.
LI, I don't know who that is. Maybe. Anyway, LI says that Liberty and Odyssey use planetary file system. I think it means interplanetary file system. That's a peer-to-peer network for storing and sharing data, such as distributed file systems. I have heard of this before.
I actually know of where it's being used. There's a podcast I listened to that was primarily hosted on Amazon AWS using S3 buckets, and they got terminated off of there. So before that, they actually started moving towards using IPFS. So they actually have their podcast distributed via IPFS. Now, could that be used for social media? I don't think so. I mean, maybe a smaller scale, but I mean, for distributing files, oh fuck yeah! I mean, it works great on that kind of shit.
So Andrew, you are 100% right. InfoSec on Twitter versus mailing lists and IRC, where they started. The main problem with InfoSec on Twitter is the ego attacks on people instead of focusing on the tech. That is why we want to start our own freaking HackerCon called Who's Your HackerCon and do our own thing without all the crazy kind of shit that's just war of egos. We want to get back to just sharing freaking technical knowledge and getting all the other crap out of the con, including the fucking SJW politics and all that other shit.
Well, you mean get rid of that other shit, right?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely banning it. Okay, meaning no more cancel culture or anything like that. Okay, if you're gonna act up against other people, just don't be there.
Exactly.
But to their minds, that would be canceling them.
Well, no, it's not. It's not about social activism. It's about technical knowledge. Okay. I mean, if they want
In other words, if you're sitting in the audience, you crack a joke about dongs when they say dongle, you're not going to lose your job.
right.
Correct.
Although that's in poor taste, but you have to be able to forgive people's poor taste.
But poor taste is half of the reason why people come to Vegas in the first place.
Yeah.
People want to come to Vegas and say Freddie, Uncle Charlie, Katie, and do shots off of a stripper's butt and run around with their underwear on their head. That's what Vegas is all about. Now they're trying to take that away, and we have to come here in our Sunday robes and never say a bad word. You can't say the F word on the stage. You can't have somebody in a bikini bring you a beer. Hello.
And I think people the bigger problem is people go, instead of going, oh, I don't like it, I won't participate like a rational person would do. They go, I don't like it, it has to change. Which
I don't like it, therefore you can't do it.
Yeah, which makes no sense because there's lots of shit that y'all do that I don't like, and I just don't participate because I'm like, I don't give a fuck. Like I know some of y'all have deal with e-drama and shit, and I'm just like, I ain't got time for that shit. I got this is my time, so I don't give a fuck. You do you, but
I remember one time being said that I was on the wrong side of hacker history because I think I blocked someone because they were whining about Hacker Jeopardy. The same person later on said they thought I still do video for DEF CON. I'm like, I've never done video for DEF CON. It's actually found it strangely how ignorant people are of my operations because it's all out there for free on archive.org and YouTube. What I do on my website is my business, but cons could just download it all and upload it themselves. One dumbass suggested that I might deliver lower quality videos or lose the videos that people I dislike. Then I wouldn't record it in the first place, you dumbass. Then a creepy motherfucker likes to follow women around cons and count them, and then report back on Twitter.
The problem is we empower these people. We are the ones who give these people power. By saying, okay, well, if you be quiet, we'll make a TOS. If you be quiet, we'll do this. We'll be complacent. No one is stopping and looking at these people and saying, excuse me, fuck you.
Well, let me tell you what is really going on. First of all, some of these social activists, these SJW people, are sponsored by they have sponsored by Google, okay, and so they're actually getting paid to volunteer to be part of the Linux community or open source, and to do their injection of their politics into basically technology, and so they're really not they don't know what they're doing. They just are volunteers to be part of the organization. Okay, so they will write and stuff, and then they'll inject their politics in, and that's what's going on. And a lot of Linux developers have been canceled because of these interlopers who get paid to come in and do their social justice politics. Mm-hmm. And so they're saying, well, instead of it being a meritocracy, well, you have to be inclusive. You have to have the transgender whatever.
Well, I have no problem with that. I mean, there's no problem with that. Well, and there pretty much never was one because there were transgender people giving talks at DEF CON long before it became a thing.
Well, no. His point's more, it was a mandatory point. You had to have so much inclusion rather than having a problem with a person of.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's more of the issue is you have to have it has to be inclusive based upon immutable characteristics that have nothing to do with your actual skill level.
Right. Somebody is sitting there saying X% of your speakers are this, Y% of your speakers are this. You have to change, and it's like, who the fuck are you?
Exactly.
I mean, I believe in being objective, but I think that what is best for presenting the information, who has the best stuff, okay?
Right?
Not who has the best frilly dressed that or
Well, see, that's the myth. The myth was that people were making the judgments on who can speak and who can't based on that kind of mentality and nepotism. And it just wasn't true. It was like if you had a good talk, you gave your talk. If you didn't, you sat on the sidelines until you got a good talk.
And I think a lot of this gets solved by allowing the loud idiots to be loud and allowed to be idiots, but don't stick to your guns. Don't change because they're loud idiots.
Right.
And eventually, they're going to either stop or they're going to form their own thing, which is going to flop and fail, and things will keep continue on as they go.
Yeah.
Things will keep on keeping on.
The thing is that we empowered them by allowing them to get away with it. And it's just we got scared. Some people are just scared.
Well, all right. First of all, a lot of the very intellectual, creative people that are actually up to their eyeballs in coding and doing stuff, especially in Linux and open source. They don't want to hassle. Okay, they just want to get their job done, and they'll write a few papers and they don't want to fight with people. And here you got these other people that are coming around and making them feel guilty about stuff, and it's like, why are you bothering me with this?
They're using Kafka traps. They're using Kafka traps and mental masturbation in order to make people think things that aren't true about themselves.
Right. And most of the strong people just don't want to be bothered. They want to do their thing, and they don't really care if someone is they don't care if they're very different in their ways of life. Just go and do your own thing. I'll do mine. That's and it kind of makes it become apathy, because there were no boundaries set saying, hey, you just can't go in and run roughshod over people. And then now you have the activist people that are saying, we're just going to cancel the people we don't like because we can.
Yeah. And they can because we let them.
And so when you have enough, and of course there's money involved. So, the Microsofts and the Googles and the Facebooks.
Well, there's also the book deals and the click-throughs and the how famous a person can become.
Right. Well, and so you're actually they're funding mediocrity.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But then again, these companies, Google's contributed a lot to open source. Okay. Hired programmers, but the people that are running the open source are not necessarily the experts. They're just, they're representing what Google's providing. And so, big tech is kind of taken over the open source community in a big way too. So we are being manipulated from all sides. I mean, it really, a couple of years ago, whenever there was this new code of conduct for the Linux community, there were a lot of original developers who were wanting to pull their code and say, we just need to leave and create our own kernel or something, because they didn't like, they were being personally attacked.
Right. Yeah. So, in other news, not related to any of the other shit we were reading tonight, SpaceX's ship blew up.
Yet again, on landing this time?
4.5 minutes after launch. After piercing the clouds at an altitude of roughly 10 kilometers, the 165-foot stainless steel tower smoothly flipped itself onto its front to perform a belly flop maneuver to slow its descent. It then fired its thrusters and landed gently. However, it appeared to have landed at an angle, and flames could be seen at its base. And minutes later, it blew up like its two predecessors. That's great.
You know, maybe they ought to land it slightly differently. You know, like you know, have some legs, and you know, with shock absorbers and stuff, and you know.
Yeah. It goes boom.
I mean,
You know, it's just another step on the road. I mean,
I
how
mean,
many other things did we blow up before we get to the moon?
right, but the lunar lander actually could do that because you were in a low gravity situation. Okay, and you can do that on Mars or something like that, which is higher gravity, but you know, still.
So
Uh,
we need inertial dampeners and anti-gravity skids. That's what we need.
well, if you got anti gravity, then the problem's solved.
Yeah, I mean that's from Star Trek. So it's not
Yeah,
real.
you know what? A lot of shit from Star Trek is starting to come real.
Well, you know what? A lot of shit from Star Trek is not also going to come real.
I agree, but I mean, come on. They're open. What is it? $2 million now for the first working tricorder.
That would be cool. I'd like that.
There's a competition going on right now for people to develop the tricorder, and some of the stuff they've developed is pretty damn impressive.
Yeah.
Well, just remember that the first appearance of what would be described as a tablet computer was on the original series of Star Trek.
Hmm.
I know.
A lot of stuff from Star Trek is coming true. I mean, hell, cell phones. Cell phones are not that much different than the communicator in Star Trek.
Right.
Cell
Except
phones
that-
pretty much are the communicator in Star Trek.
Well, it does actually. Cell phones do more than the communicator in Star Trek ever did.
Right. It's
Well,
like a tricorder mixed with the other stuff.
well, yeah, but the limitations to the cell phone is there's no they have not been able to communicate faster than light. There's no subspace communicators.
I think Joel can solve the problem. I mean, all he needs is a lab and a bunch of scientists and R&D. You can do it. I'm sure you can, bro. When can we buy land on Mars? Funny that you ask. I'm sure there's tons of shysters already selling land on Mars, just like there's tons of shysters who sell the same plot of land on the moon over and over again.
Yep. Or I like the ones that allow you to buy a comet. You can name a comet and you name it after somebody, and all you get is a piece of paper that says,
All right.
Comet XJ5 is now called Lucille.
Right. I named a star after some girl I was dating. Kind of hoping it's supernova.
A supernova is not the end of the star. Okay. But if it becomes a neutron star or a black hole, well.
Oh, did you see the article about the people that they're building artificial black holes and they've proved the existence of Hawking radiation?
Cool. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, that happened this week. And it was funny because the first comment was, it says, we've created a black hole. And it's like, well, that's going to end nicely.
Yeah.
This will end well.
I mean, if we're in space too long, our bones start to like
calcify.
Yeah, they decalcify. Yeah.
Hey, you know what? I stay indoors too much, and I just had to take 50,000 IU of vitamin D. My doctor had a complete shit fit because the amount of vitamin D in my body was almost not measurable. It was so small. So we can find a way around that.
We can. But
just go into space with some Flintstones vitamins or something, I mean, shit.
There are comets, right, that have more freaking gold on them than we have on the planet. If we could take one of those freaking comets and bring it to the Earth, we could destroy the entire economy.
Oh, yeah. There was that one comet that was worth like 100 billion, trillion, gazillion dollars.
It literally has more gold on it than all the gold that's on you in the world right now. So,
let's go to space, damn it.
Yeah, but I can tell you right now that the gold in space would be more valuable than the gold on Earth if you leave it in space, because gold is a valuable metal for many applications.
Right. It's not just pretty jewelry. It's also like one of the most conductive metals that's out there. It's great.
It's also one of the most corrosive resistant metals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's another big factor. But
Yeah, I'm gonna make myself some gold. All I need is a bunch of lead and a nuclear reactor. I can do
There
it.
you go.
well, maybe you can do it with a molten salt reactor, a breeder reactor, which would be radioactive elements doing that.
Yeah.
However, most of the comments are located in what's called the Oort cloud, which is OORT. And so they're just kind of drifting around, like outside the solar system.
Yeah, that's basically the cloud that surrounds our solar system. There's the 8 planets plus Pluto. There's the sun. There's the the Kuiper belts, and the what's the one? There's one further out too after I think between Saturn and Uranus. What's that one
What you
called?
saying about my anus?
But the big one is the Kuiper belt, which is between Mars and Jupiter, and that's supposed to have a lot of rare metals and things like that in there too, which will be great.
That's the big asteroid belt, in other words.
Yeah, that's where Ceres is and all the big ones are. But yeah, that one's still outside of our reach right now.
Yeah, well, that's that ought to be the next goal. The heck with going to Mars, just to start asteroid mining with robotic system.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, forget mining them. We're just gonna redirect them right at Delchi's house.
Oh yeah, you try that. Go right ahead.
Well, that's a form of that's a weapon of mass destruction. It's called a
Well,
mass driver.
you know what? I may just have to do something to the GPS signal that you're using, and
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
Mi casa, su casa.
I don't think that launching a mass driver would require GPS.
No, but he'd have to. If he's going to throw it at my house, he's got to have to know where my house is.
Well, I mean,
tell you.
you're talking about when you launch something that big, okay? It was small enough, it's going to burn up in the atmosphere. If it's big enough, it's going to take out, a small town.
Why not both?
Sure, just not my small town.
Yeah. But and there is an energy barrier on the edge of the solar system, where actual a layer of energy. Remember Star Trek? One of the early one of the first episodes, there was the edge of the galaxy had a special energy barrier. Wow, isn't that coincidental?
Oh no, that's just because everything we know of is inside of a giant bell jar inside of an alien space lab. I mean, you know that, right?
Yeah, I saw the end of that Men in Black movie.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Yep. So what else we got? Anything else in the freaking show notes? Probably not. There's a new nonprofit. They're calling themselves the Cybersecurity 202. They are a nonprofit, and they are providing free ransomware protection to hospitals and schools, which is pretty neat. I mean,
It's already been done. CTI League's been doing it for over a year now.
Yeah, well, maybe they just stole their idea and tried to improve on it. But yeah, they are a thing, and you can. I'm trying to share my screen. I don't know why it's not sharing. There it is. All right. So, as a part of the effort to combat the rise in attacks, a nonprofit group, Center for Internet Security (CIS), this month launched a free ransomware protection service for U.S. hospitals. It is a malicious domain blocking and reporting service. So essentially, we're talking Cisco umbrella type shit with DNS. And it can prevent ransomware attacks and yada yada. Right. you're assuming you already know about the C2 domain it's going to. If you don't, and it's unknown, then this service ain't gonna do shit. But better than nothing. Interesting. Cool that it's free. I like things that are free.
Uh-oh.
Whoa. Somebody
Darn.
electrocuted?
Oh, a GPU has come up. Yeah.
Good for you.
Darn.
You can mine some cryptos.
Except for it's already gone. It's on Amazon. Bots grab those things as soon as they come up.
So sysadmins really need a nonprofit to install proper IDS systems and verify their backup and recovery procedures, ? Yes, they do. DNS blocking seems junk. Well, that's because it is junk. And then 9.9.9.9 is free. Yes, so is 1.1.1.1 and 8.8.8.8 and 8.8.4 and many, many others. They shouldn't just fire the old incompetent sysadmins and get some new blood in to secure their networks. No. Yeah, all my friends would be out of a job. That's a horrible idea, Andrew.
The problem is, sorry, the old bloods. The problem is sometimes just management doesn't want to do it, doesn't want to pay for it, doesn't want to do certain things a certain way, or they want to keep
a major security event. They don't take security seriously.
Yeah, and even then, sometimes they don't, or they may just for a short period of time, then they forget again. So, and this talk about electrical grids, yeah, I mean that's kind of a sensitive subject for at least me, maybe Barry as well, because some of the shit we just dealt with.
Exactly.
So, look, I favor building molten salt reactors and the heck with anything that's solar or wind. I mean,
yeah.
Stupid.
It's no good. It already has been compromised.
I mean, molten salt reactors are the way to go. Period. I mean, that's it's using it's using uranium-233 basically. Or it starts as thorium, and you heat up fluoride salts and mix it with thorium, and you have a reaction with graphite, and it creates the heat. It's basically a steam engine, but it doesn't have all the bad waste that a solid fuel reactor does. And you're not going to worry about that stuff.
I mean, even a solid fuel reactor is technically more eco-friendly than going.
They have fewer deaths per kilowatt hour than even wind, and that's not accumulating for shit for second factor on wind, like ice forming on the blades and being hurled off, or the blades straight up snapping off and
don't forget the birds.
No, that's seriously a thing. There are a lot of birds who die from that shit.
Oh, that's just Darwinism, though. It's fine.
But by the same token, a lot of birds die by flying into windows too. So
right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've seen that. When they first put up the very first skyscraper, I saw a thing on that where there was like a constant issue up there with birds plowing in.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the windows of my house is a bird magnet because the birds keep hitting it, and we know at least one's died from it for sure.
Damn, those are stupid birds.
Well,
to be fair, they got bird brains.
Well, the big thing, it comes from these solar plants, because basically they're parabolic reflectors that are heating up superheating a fluid for basically another steam engine.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is if a bird flies over these solar plants, they become baked pretty quick. I mean, literally, they turn to coal in midair. And of course, they got a bunch of them in California. And you know how people are crying about all the California condor was becoming extinct? Well, now they put all these solar plants in the desert where the condors live, and guess what's happening?
You just got to send Kevin Mitnick out there to repopulate the condor population.
And they're frying the condors with these, a bird flies over the solar plant and whammo. I mean, yes, they try to avoid the reflections, but It depends on the angle. And soaring birds, fly with the currents, and whammo. I mean, they actually have to clean off the solar reflectors from fried birds.
And not to mention that where they usually are is in the middle of the desert, so they have to frequently clean them because of sand and all that shit too. So maintenance on them is not insignificant, and not to mention because it's sand, they get frequently scratched.
Complex object.
Hey, all things considered, having been on both ends of that stick, I'd rather be brushing sand off of glass than hauling a truck full of radioactive waste. Just saying.
Well,
So why can't we just put liberal arts students on treadmills to fix the energy crisis?
Well, no, you got to hook it up to their jaws because they run their mouths more than they run their bicycles.
So the main issue with solar and wind is storage. That is
Yeah.
oh yeah, you can
generator. Where the fuck are you gonna put it? You can't pump it right into the grid.
Well, not just that, but battery storage is crappy, but a lot of these wind and solar places are out in the middle of ass end of nowhere, and you lose power from attenuation by just simply transmitting over the lines. So by transmitting it, 100 miles to the nearest city, you may have lost up to 50% or more of it. So,
Well, how much of that is economic, though?
what do you mean?
Like, it's cheaper to put an unproven technology out in the middle of nowhere than it is to put it in an urban setting.
No, it's proven. The technology behind it is solid, but the problem is, again, it has to be remote because of what it is. You can't put a Helios plant in the middle of the fucking city because it's a city. There's buildings around there. You're not going to get constant sunlight, shit like that. It's a danger to people living nearby. So you have to store it somewhere out in the middle of fucking nowhere and transmit the power in. Same for wind too, because you have to have open land that actually supports wind turbines that can move.
Let's just build Warner Force power and pump all the electricity right up into the stratosphere, and then we'll just go from other places. I don't understand how Tesla's invention would have actually worked, but I find it really cool. Giant freaking Tesla coil shooting shit into the goddamn stratosphere.
Well, no, you get the solar panels in space that microwave beam the energy back down.
How that for solar panels in space? It was way before there was anything that we were.
I mean, that's one of the things where theoretically, yes, you can do it, but the attenuation makes it highly impractical.
Do you remember the original RoboCop film where there was a mishap with like some orbital power station and it ended up taking a laser beam and accidentally hitting a former president?
I mean, that's been a thing of a lot of movies and games and such. They
was that the secret Jewish space laser right there?
I don't know. I do know.
Oh, there's no secret to that.
But the issue is beaming that power through the atmosphere causes a significant loss. So the point where it's not worth it.
That is pulled electricity from gravitational waves. That sounds freaking cool. I don't know how the hell that works, but it sounds cool.
I think part of your problem right there answers itself. Okay, pumping it through the atmosphere is a problem. Okay, so fuck living on the planet. We put people out. We put people out in the atmosphere where they can use the power. We have less people on the planet, so there's less need for more power.
Up there, yeah.
Yeah, the problem again is you're floating in space. You have to deal with cosmic radiation and cancer risk associated with that, and zero gravity effects such as bone decalcification, shit like that.
Yeah, so you pop 2 pills, put on your sunglasses, and you have a nice day.
We do it for a number of generations in space, right? And eventually, the whole bone decalcification thing won't be an issue anymore. They'll just have bigger bones. They'll be like 8, 9, 10 feet people, and then like they'll be very thin, and then they'll learn how to go back in time, and they'll be known as the Greys, and then we'll
look. It's evolution, people. It's why we're not in ponds sucking down salmon right now. Evolution happened, so I think that we can adapt to zero gravity and living in space.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of Starship Enterprise. Its ongoing mission to explore strange new worlds. You guys just keep going. Interrupt me. I don't remember the whole fucking thing now.
Captain, we seem to come across a planet where there are no SJWs.
I like how they all just go to Ryza and fuck everybody. That I like how that was a
Well,
planet.
there's got to be a planet for that. I mean, there has to be. You can't not have a planet for that.
I live on that planet. It's like, oh, the free sex planet. Okay.
And you mentioned genetic. I know Dickie mentioned about geneticists working on that kind of shit. The problem is we don't understand the human genome that well to the point where they've. I know China got some serious shit with making CRISPR babies, and the problem is you modify one gene and you may modify a whole host of other shit that you may not know until a generation from now because of how it works. So a lot of what we knew,
they were like, what's the difference between making a CRISPR baby and finding out that your baby is going to have a horrible genetic disorder and just not having it? I'm like, I think there's a lot. There's a big difference.
Yeah, a pretty big difference, because you may introduce genetic defects by pure fucking accident. Again, so much of what we know about the human body is kind of like guesswork. Doctors are not to discredit doctors. A lot of what they do is guessing, and let's face it, there's a lot of shit we get wrong because we just don't fucking know.
Right. Yeah. Nina gave a really.
We will eventually. I mean, we started out chewing on tree bark, and now we have aspirin in the grocery store.
Yeah.
So give us a chance. I mean,
I'm not saying no. I'm not saying don't give a chance. Just pointing out that your idea is a little far fetched for where we are right now. That's more my point.
Oh yeah, but that doesn't mean we're not going to get there.
No, absolutely not. I think with enough time we will. But yeah.
Yeah, my friend Nina gave a really good talk at Hope a few years ago about CRISPR and the possible repercussions of using that technology, as well as the possible things that could go good. And the question is the good going to outweigh the bad? Or, I mean, obviously when they first start using it, the things they're going to want to edit are going to be stupid things. Like, oh, I want to change my kids, their eye color, or I want to, but before you know it, if you keep fucking with genes, bad things can happen. Over generations, right? You have one generation, you change this, then you change that. Before you know it, are we still even fucking human when you think about it? It's like we've changed so many things.
Good things can happen too.
It's different than like selective breeding, where people will like the fly experiment thing, where this fly and then that fly and that blue color eye, red eye, and you combine it, and then you get this color eye, and it's like, and you keep breeding it so you can have certain color eyes like that. But when you're doing it with CRISPR, you're literally just editing the genetic code. You're not doing like breeding. It's different,
Like any other technical advancement, okay? There are going to be people who do the quote-unquote right thing, the people who do the wrong thing, the people who do the weird thing, okay? It's going to happen. Somebody's going to wake up and say, hey, I want 3 dicks, and go running to his CRISPR device and start playing around until he's got 3 dicks. And, someone's going to say, I want to cure AIDS, and they're going to cure AIDS.
You're not editing the existing genome of a person. You're editing what they would be in the womb. So,
right, exactly. That's what I'm saying. I mean, if you want that, you can have it. And then someday you'll be able to swallow a pill and turn into a furry for the weekend. And you're back to normal on Monday morning. I mean,
Santo would go to town. He'd be a fucking squirrel man, fucking other squirrel, and he'd have a fall. Good for Santo.
The problem is we just got to get over ourselves. I mean, as a species. You can't do that. It's against nature. It's against nature does some pretty fucked up shit to begin with.
Right, and GMOs is another thing with food, right? People don't like GMOs, but they also don't realize how much more efficient GMOs can make certain things, like wheat production.
Yeah.
If you're going,
there are two very distinct sides to that argument, though.
Yeah.
Okay, you are 110% correct. A lot of people confuse the bad part of GMOs with the good part of GMOs. The good part of GMOs is I can make a strain of corn that will grow in dog shit with no water in the middle of nowhere. Okay, I can do something that will triple the yield so that we don't have to watch Sally Struthers showing us starving kids during dinner time anymore, right?
You'll get a new crop that will use a third of the water, a third of the food, but produce 3 times the result.
Exactly. Now, the flip side, we're going to make a GMO enhanced plant that forces you to buy seeds from us every year, and we set the price higher every year, and you can't collect seeds and replant them. And oh, by the way, that's our copyrighted seed. If it happens to blow onto your land, we're going to sue you out of existence because you don't have a license to use our genetically enhanced seed. And we're going to make seedless plants and seedless food so that you have to keep buying and buying and buying and buying every year. So you go broke and we get rich. That's the side of GMOs that pisses me off. And that's the shit that needs regulation.
A lot of, to be fair, a lot of that is very minor. You don't hear much of that is overblown. A lot of that shit is grossly exaggerated. The whole like seed blowing over and suing them, that never happens.
Actually, it does happen.
Oh, it does. It does happen. There's plenty of stories of it.
And and farmers have gotten sued because they're replanting seed that several miles down the road, some farmer was planting a patented crop. But then again, the Chinese have stolen most of our seed technology anyway. I mean,
yeah, they got to get the money somehow. They might as well get it out of the farmers.
The worst, there's two worst things. Okay, they try to do what's called a terminator seed, and that is if their genetic material goes to another crop, it prevents any kind of it basically stops the lineage. So in other words, they won't be able to save seed and replant because it dies out after a generation. That's what they call the terminator, and that they haven't deployed that because that could actually cause a total collapse. If they were try to pull that junk. The next one is inserting the Bacillus thuringiensis toxin into corn, for example, the Bt toxin, so the plant produces it naturally. The problem with that is you're ingesting Bt toxin, and the stuff is spreading with pollen and killing beneficial insects because it's mainly for caterpillars, and you don't want to eat Bt toxin. And that isn't
a documentary about this.
There's plenty of stuff about it. Yeah, I mean they were talking about the Terminator gene back in the 90s. But the Bt toxin thing, they have deployed because that does stop the corn boring
worm.
But it also spreads that genetic material to other crops and kills butterflies and that sort of thing. And when you're using Bt, it's sprayed on and it washes away, and then you harvest. Whenever you have it built into the plant, then you're eating it.
Mm-hmm.
Not a good thing. There's unknown effects of it.
All right.
But that's to kind of go back to earlier. You mentioned about genetic GMOs. I mean, that's what crossbreeding is. Technically, a genetic modified organism. But to use your fly example, you're crossbreeding two flies of different eye colors. Well, their genes are mixing, and there's more than just the eyes that are getting mixed in there. There's other characteristics such as length and ability to reproduce and things like that. And so basically, when you crossbreed, your tomato plants to be hardier, there's other things in there you're also introducing and also removing beyond their hardiness, because when you crossbreed, you can't pick and choose which LLs or traits or chromosomes that you want to actually keep or remove. When you do targeted modifications using CRISPR or other similar technologies, you can make that much more precise. And again, there may be other unintended consequences of deleting a chromosome or modifying a chromosome, but it's not going to be quite so widespread as selective breeding or cross pollination, which is basically a genetic, kind of a genetic shake in the box. You're basically putting it all in the box and shaking it and pulling out pulling a handful out.
Well, selective breeding was it was basically that's
That's what we've been doing since the dawn of time.
I mean, but yeah, the father of modern genetics was Gregor Mendel, and he was doing it with peas, I think.
Well, humans been doing that since the dawn of agriculture. They've realized, if we put these wheat together and they're hardy, they're the ones that survive the cold winter the best, and we cultivate them and grow them again, they'll be hardier again next year. At some point someone realized that, and they've been doing that forever. They've been doing that with livestock. For fuck's sake.
It's like with chickens and egg color. Well,
yeah,
I raise chickens, so I understand this. If you want those really dark brown eggs, well, the egg gene, the color gene, is passed by the rooster, not the hen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got a hen laying dark colored eggs, that means daddy had the gene. So. And so there's all sorts of stuff, was passed by either parent to create your fancy chicken eggs,
mm-hmm.
or your fancy chicken colors or whatever.
Or how your chicken develops, how many eggs it lays, how often it lays. There's a lot of stuff that we've been doing to increase production because, let's face it, we started agrarian societies, you could feed yourself and maybe a couple others. Now we can feed, one farmer can feed themselves and 1 million people because of selective breeding, and then later on the quote genetic modification that we see now, which is just more targeted.
Well, here is the really interesting thing. It comes to chickens. Okay, the broiler chicken that you get in the little Easter egg chickens and stuff like that, those white little or yellow Easter chicks are mostly what's called a Cornish rock.
Mm-hmm.
And that is the offspring of two bloodlines that, when bred together, create a fast-growing fat chicken. And all the chicken you're eating, those nice big broilers you're getting are always roosters, because
mm-hmm.
the hens are called the Cornish game hens.
And you don't usually eat the hens because they're the ones laying eggs and making more. You don't eat them until they're stopped doing that, and even then you usually aren't eating them. They're usually used for canners and shit. Yeah, cat food and basically commercial applications.
Right, and so you're breeding the white Cornish and the white rock, which is offspring is basically a barred rock, but it's a white rock, white Plymouth Rock chicken. Special breeding lines to produce your fat eaten chicken. But that's different from egg layers. So you have the most productive white egg layer is the white leghorn, and the most productive brown egger is the black Australorp, which is a black Orpington. Is a breed that was developed in Australia. So the Italian white leghorn chicken with the mean roosters, they'll produce an egg in less than a day, typically. Same thing with the Australorps. So you're getting a little more than an egg a day production out of those chickens. So that is your lessons in chickens. And it's illegal to give them hormones and crap. So whenever you hear about countries saying, well, they're putting all sorts of hormones and stuff in the chicken, nope, it's been against it's illegal by the Department of Agriculture. You're not allowed to do that, especially
that's been a thing for quite a long time now.
Yep.
And it's funny you mentioned about that as well. And I see people talk about, oh, this is not made with GMO ingredients, like anything made with soybeans, because they don't actually have a GMO soybean. They don't do that. So just because you see no GMO doesn't mean it's anything good or anything beneficial or
Well, they got a
bad.
GMO, the kind of a GMO soybean. They got what's called a Roundup Ready soybean, which they don't use Roundup anymore because if you consume it, it causes cancer.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
They just paid a big bunch of money over that.
They settled doesn't mean that actually it's true. You of all people know that.
Yeah, I mean, your Roundup Ready means it's resistant to Roundup.
To glyphosate, yes.
The problem was the overuse of the Roundup as a weed killer, especially with exposing it to farm workers and stuff like that. I mean, that's just stupid. You're not supposed to have any harvested crops exposed to that stuff. All right. I mean, if you got weeds, you got to get geese. Because they got some geese that'll eat your weeds.
Yeah, I mean that's always a problem. Is you have to be responsible with pesticide usage, and that's not even just glyphosate. That's everything else. Oh, that's even quote organic pesticides. Which yes, that's a thing. Organic does have pesticides that are approved, and most of those are incredibly dangerous, like diatomaceous earth. Most of that shit is extremely deadly to people.
Well, diatomaceous earth, if it's food grade, it's fine. If it's food grade, it's really bad. And don't breathe this stuff.
It's diatomaceous earth is just one of those common examples. I mean, was it copper sulfate? And yeah, there's some really nasty ones out there that are extremely dangerous to your health. That are totally okay for organic because organic means healthy.
Well,
no, it doesn't.
There is a food grade diatomaceous earth, and that is okay because they put that in grain elevators to kill the weevils, and it is basically fossilized diatoms.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is. I don't know if it could cause lung cancer or anything like that, but that's basically what it is. It's some kind of calcium carbonate fossils. There is what's called the saltwater diatoms, and those you can't use for food because they have salts in them and stuff. But I've fed diatomaceous earth to chickens. It's a home remedy for wormer. You can worm them. Okay, and if they eat it, it's fine.
Well, it's because birds eat rocks because it's part of their digestive system. But again, that's a bird, not us. I mean, we have very different digestive systems, very different bodies in general. So you can't make that ready comparison.
Well, I know that, but there is a food grade diatomaceous earth.
Yeah.
And so that's freshwater diatoms. But there are some of these oils they use as an insecticide that are very dangerous to people. They have toxins in them. You don't want to, they can cause eczemas and irritations and lung irritations and eye irritations and stuff like that because you're taking basically some kind of oil from some plant and you're spraying it on another one. And in a concentrated form.
Yep.
And so, it can make you sick. So you don't want to consume that. And I already mentioned Bt toxin. Don't eat that. Okay, it's a bacterial toxin. All right.
I want it.
Yeah, you don't want to eat. It's kind of like eating botulism toxin. You don't want to eat a bunch of botulism, do you? No, that'll cause respiratory collapse.
No, but you'll inject it into your face, though.
Well, I know. It destroys your nerves. It makes your, it actually, it does do that. It's not good.
Okay, I gotta say, man, the golden statue is a little bit fucking weird.
Yeah, I was like 10 feet from it for a long time. It was nice, man. My group went there. Yeah, I'll show you. That's not it. Is that it? That might be it. Was it?
You were looking at something about Monsanto, about Roundup.
There, I mentioned briefly in this article here.
Oh,
Liberty, that's us. That's my group. Well, not my group. It's Tom's group. I'm part of the group. And we got blasted in a whole bunch of left-wing bullshit. Friendly atheists don't like us very much. Yeah, they do not like us. They write shit about us. But we did good stuff.
all right. Well, that's good. All right.
Yeah.
I mean, I even though I'm a church person, you know, I don't you know, have issues or problems with people who are atheists, and I've known plenty. And I've come to realize that people just in their own hearts, you know, don't believe, and that's how it is. And I'm not going to try to impose my beliefs on you if you don't want to.
Right, and we
It's
don't
called-
do it,
Learn about it,
buddy.
and, you know, but understand, of course, that you know we want to have war memorials that have crosses, is because you know there were a lot of Christians that died in wars.
We're not against that.
And that's called being a good person. You know,
Yeah.
a closest friend of mine is a Southern Baptist, and he's the kind of person I can call. Hey, get your shovel, and he asks me where we bury the body, and it's yeah, and he respects me because I treat him like a human being. I treat him well. He treats
Yeah.
me well. So it's the way the world works. You get what you put into it, and you get back what you put into it.
That's it.
I now have permission from Zach to mention that I met Zach. I already mentioned that I met Zach. I probably should have waited till he actually gave me permission. Yeah. It's all good. Fun times, man. So yeah, my group got written up in a bunch of stuff. So the far right conservative, super conservative people, they hate us, right? They don't want us at that con, and the left also doesn't want us at that con. So we pretty much are just pissing off everybody, which I'm okay with. That's pretty much my thing.
Well, all I can say is, as somebody who represents the church-going crowd, you're fine. I know I don't have issues. I mean, and most of the reasonable, even pastors that I know will not. You know, they're cool. They're not. You know, they have to be good witnesses. You know, so they're not going to cast stones. That's you know that people need to start living by the scriptures instead of being hypocrites by it.
Just reading it, they actually start embracing it, not just living it, or reading it. Excuse me.
And yeah, I mean everybody's a hypocrite too. So that's and that's simple philosophy.
Yeah, and what was I gonna say? I mean, I think that's mostly kind of because you and I are in Texas, kind of a Texas thing where a lot of it's just we judge you by the content of your character, not not
Yep.
who you we judge you by who you are, not by what you believe in or whatever. It's that's true of most of the South. I think that's kind of one of the big misnomers about the South. It's people don't do that. No, we fucking do it down here. If you're an asshole, we'll treat you like an asshole. We won't persecute you because you're atheist. We'll persecute you because you're an asshole.
By the color of his skin, but by the content of his character.
And by the way, the golden rule is not part of the Bible.
Nope.
Yep. It is one
And
of the
in
things that's
Texas history actually had some German immigrants that were called free thinkers that were basically atheists. So there is a very old atheist history in Texas.
What the hell was 12 to 14 in the show? I got to bring the show notes back up now. I don't even have them open anymore. What was 12 to 14 in the show notes?
And by the way, somebody mentioned Bigfoot. The state of Texas officially recognizes Bigfoot.
Take things out.
Wait, what?
Man.
That is the absolute truth. The state of Texas, by law, recognizes the existence of Bigfoot. And the Bigfoot is protected as a cryptid endangered species. And there's actually, if you go down 45, there's a rest stop in Navarro County that actually has a plaque that states the recognition of the sightings of Bigfoot in Navarro County.
Yeah. Bigfoot was a big guy who had lots of big feet, man.
Well, in the South, they call them the skunk ape, especially in Florida.
Sasquatch.
Yep. So, yes, Bigfoot is recognized officially in the state of Texas. So you can believe or not believe, but the state of Texas does. I don't know, maybe I have a picture of you'll have to post it in Twitter or something like that, of the actual plaque. I took a picture of it. I just don't know where I put it. Yep.
Yep. So we got anything else to talk about? We did pretty good with the limited amount of show notes that we had.
Yeah. We kind of rambled there for like an hour.
What the hell does it matter?
That's why people come in here and listen to us, because they come for the infosec, they stay for the rambling.
Exactly. Like when I listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, like I like the parts mostly when he's just going off script. It's like he's just fucking talking to each other, you know? It's better
and we never have a script, so we're set for that.
Lecture. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sitting here surrounded by all these dang printers that I gathered up.
Yeah, you got one ready for me?
Yeah, you got a color printer for me? I could use one.
I have these. They're direct thermal printers.
Yeah, the zebras.
Send it over.
And I think I have either 4 or 5 good ones, and I have more than that in power supplies.
Yeah, man. Look, send me one.
Well, they're expensive to send. These things, I don't get cheap shipping anywhere around here.
Shipping.
FedEx and UPS want to charge me $40 a pop every time.
That's not. I'll send you the money for shipping.
Yeah, seriously. I mean,
well, I was thinking, okay, sell 2 printers for $70, and probably the shipping about to be the same as sending one. But that's not bad for printer. I don't know. That's just we'll see. I mean, I might have just spare power supply. You needed a power supply. You didn't need a printer, or you need a printer too.
well, I wouldn't mind a printer, because remember the one I had is locked out and was being a big pain in the ass. And it's not working right because I think the problem with it is the power supply doesn't deliver enough amperage, so it dies halfway through a label if it's heavy black.
Well, I mean, I figured $35 for a printer and power supply is pretty cheap.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And whatever the shipping is, and you buy 2, that way if one kind of peters out, you got another one.
Yeah.
They didn't get a lot of use. They were used only a couple of times a week, and but they were used for a few years. And yeah, zebras are fairly old. They don't make these particular ones anymore.
Oh, you got a zebra? Dude, send me a zebra.
You want a zebra, huh?
I want a zebra. I fucking repaired those back when I worked for the county.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's one of these.
See, I'm using them to print postage labels when I mail out comic books.
The zebras are bad. We use those to make our IDs too. Like for
Yeah.
the cards we sent, we have the public buy for access to the pool and stuff. I forget what the hell we call it. I think it's Leisure Pass, right? We would print those on the zebra printer, and I was the one who had to always fix the fucking zebra printer.
Well, these are direct thermals. They're not color at all. You can't. I think you can get a label that has a red color or a blue color, but they're still. Well, no, I don't think you can do that. That's a different printer. So it's not an ink printer. It's not an inkjet printer.
Nope.
I mean, it does print a graphic, but it's black and white.
Gotcha.
Mainly to print barcodes and shipping labels. So if you got to print that UPS label that's a 4x6 or whatever it is, or
Yep, that's it.
And so yeah, I think it'll print a 4-inch wide label. And
I'm talking like these. Oh shit, that's not where this window goes. Too many windows open. I'm talking. There we go. These fuckers, right? So they like this series, this ZC300 series. These things are badass. You make a really fucking awesome.
Okay, so yeah, that's something totally different. Yeah,
I know. I'm just saying these things.
Is that an ink printer or a direct thermal printer?
It's thermal. It prints right onto the ID.
Okay. Well, that's a more fancier printer than this is more like a retail printer.
Yeah, I like them. Anyway, alrighty, printers.
Yeah,
So-
I got some things I wouldn't mind saying to you offline, but I don't have a whole lot more for a show.
All right, so I think we'll go offline. Everybody, it's been a great cast. Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you tuning in to watch us talk about shit every week. Y'all are great. Have a great week. Stay out of trouble. And see you next week, hopefully. Bye, guys.
Later.
All right.